Congratulations once again, Sandi, for such an amazing award.
Hi, thanks for coming. This is amazing. I did not actually prepare anything, but I shall say that I have to correct Kenneth. Where are you, Kenneth? Because I wasn't just like an 18-year-old intern at the newspaper. Actually, I was 14 when I was at the Film Society. I was a wannabe member, and I was bugging you to play Keanu Reeves movies. And I wrote you so many letters to show Blue Velvet and things like that. I just really harassed you. I know you say I didn't bug you, but I did. Anyway, so thank you for being a friend all these years, and thank you for making the Film Society exist. So I think. So I'm just going to talk about 1992 when we were crazy kids making this film in Singapore. Back in those days, I just have to remember because there's some young people in this room who do not remember a world without the internet. The internet did not exist. Nobody was making films in Singapore, and there were very few video cameras, and we just didn't have cell phones taking pictures of each other and making videos all the time. So that was something, that was a different world. That was it's a different galaxy almost. So back in those days, Singapore was, I thought, we all knew, those old enough to remember, was very much at the crossroads, between its very, more laid back Southeast Asian identity, sleepy neighborhoods, and, lots of green. And I just knew that this world was going to vanish because we all felt like it was going to go and take this other push and become something else very soon. And it chose to become, it was at the crossroads between that identity and a global economic powerhouse identity. And, we all know where it went. So I wanted to kind of capture the Singapore that meant something to me, because me and my friends would go looking for all these corners that were forgotten and overlooked, even by people old enough to remember, but they were just too busy working or making the grades at school or being yelled at by their parents to get better grades at school. And they just, people just took these places for granted, and I just could tell that they would vanish before our very eyes. And it was very important to me and my friends to capture them, as well as and you soon see them, so not to talk too much about this, but we gathered. That's the wonderful thing about being young and nobody telling no, and nobody having done this before. Nobody knew how difficult it was. What we did was we shot, with free labor. Because we pulled our JC friends along. We were actually the pioneer batch of TSD students at BJC, and we pulled our friends along, and we all went on this great adventure. Actually, thanks to I guess I pulled them along, and they followed, and I'm very grateful to all of them. And then you soon see this is the story of what happened to the film, but that was then. And so making the film in the last few years, in the 21st century, I tried to kind of recreate the same kind of process of finding your tribe, finding the right people, giving them a lot of trust, and finding a new batch of people to be Shirkers along with us on a new journey that's kind of international and a global one. So, to tell the story of the original Shirkers, that's kind of it's actually surreal to think that this forgotten episode in the smallest country in the world will be now seen by potentially the largest possible audience. And I think that in itself is like a stranger than fiction story. But anyway, so what we did, you just met Wei, who I think is amazing, because it's the 21st century. I found her through the internet, and I heard her songs, and I just thought I had to have her in my film. So, while making this film, I was working with Weisha's voice, and I found a composer in Israel, and we worked via Skype because this is the 21st century, and you can do that, whereas you couldn't do that in 1992. And I had him kind of sample her voice and take us along on this journey as he kind of did the score for the film, and then concurrently as well, I was editing this film over 9 months. I guess it was kind of like a birth. And me and I found this wonderful sound guy, sound designer, Lawrence Everson in LA, where I live, and talked to him about we don't have that many images. And so what we have is very precious of ourselves at that time, because we didn't have cell phone footage of ourselves as teenagers making this film. So what we had to do was to really use these images in a very inventive way and to kind of make the most of scraps. So, this movie really is kind of a tribute to a great use of scraps, I suppose. Like playing with sound, because sound is how you really get to memory and emotions, because that's how memory and emotions work. You can play them backwards and forwards and at different speeds. And so we had to be very inventive with what little we had to tell the story. And I guess that's all I have to say. I just was actually going to say thank you for being here. And then the last thing I was going to say, oh yeah, I always get asked this, what advice do I have? What takeaway do you want Singaporeans to have from this film? And I always say, well, I want the younger Singaporeans of all ages to just be brave and tenacious and to pursue their dreams, and to just really go for it. And then I want their parents and their guardians to loosen their chokehold on them, to give them space and room to breathe and just believe in them and have faith in them a little bit and just let them play. Because that's what we had in 1992. And increasingly I see remarkable children, very interesting people, grow up into very uninteresting grown-ups. So this is a tribute to play. This is an exhortation to for people to kind of let loose a little bit and just encourage the children and even themselves to kind of dream big and go for it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sandi. Now, before we get whisked away to 1992 and